At my lowest point, I was biting into wax fruit on display at a home goods store.
It could happen to you. Restless palate syndrome, or RPS, is a condition afflicting many Americans, including those starring in major marketing campaigns. With restless palate syndrome, your taste buds are constantly craving new flavors. And even with the array of choices available, your tongue fears missing out. This leads to symptoms like spontaneous drooling, lethargic tongue, and the uncontrollable urge to combine random foods.
One time I slapped my sister for making a meal without sides. Mama needs her sides. At one point, I traded my grandmother's wedding ring for a scoop of Neapolitan ice cream. It's just 3 flavors in one. I licked a scratch and sniff sticker. I stole food off my niece's plate when she wasn't looking. It was her 3rd birthday party.
Millions of people just like Hannah are suffering from restless palate syndrome, searching for the next best flavor. Thankfully, Kind Snacks is leading the fight against RPS with an arsenal of bars in all types of flavors. Together, we can do this.
Give your taste buds a fighting chance by voting for the next Kind flavor. Will it be Sangria, Sesame Seaweed, Sweet Pretzel Crunch, or Spiced Fig? Because with each new flavor, we're one step closer to curing restless palate syndrome once and for all. Act today. Go to kindsnacks.com/raisethebar.
That was funny. That is a funny spot.
Sorry, should I use this? I thought I could just project. I had the best time, and I'm not an actress, but I really enjoyed playing a doctor on TV. But yeah, RPS. It's really serious.
A real thing. So tell me about this contest. Kind is launching today.
Yes.
And you can vote on the new flavor.
Yes. Okay. So here's the deal. So I've been a longtime lover of Kind bars for forever. I mean, I don't know if any of you have kids or just on the run. It's the kind of thing that I always have stuffed at the bottom of my bag because I can count on it a month from now, 2 months from now, whenever I discover it. And so when they approached me and said, look, we're putting together this awesome campaign to get our customers involved and have them help us pick the next best flavor, but do it in this kind of funny, tongue-in-cheek way of like, we already have 77 flavors out there.
77?
Literally, Kind has 77 different snack options, but people aren't satisfied. They want more. And it was kind of playing on this idea that we are a food-fascinated culture. We love to try new things. We love to combine new flavors. We're always searching for that next great flavor hit. So why not get you guys involved in picking a kind of random, like the unicorn version of a Kind bar flavor? So they came up with these 4 awesome flavors. They have Sangria that really tastes like it has wine in it, which is shocking because there is no alcohol in this bar. Seaweed Sesame, which is like a black, like seaweed coated bar.
Oh, I put
yeah,
seaweed
no,
on my
really
popcorn,
cool.
and I love yeah.
So that's what they're hoping for. Some people are like, you would want to try this bar. They have a spiced fig, which is my personal favorite, and then they have a sweet caramel popcorn, not sweet popcorn pretzel, sweet caramel pretzel like crack bar. And so anyway, they're letting people vote. It is only for the month of May, and you vote on the one bar that you would want to see made into production. And then at the end of the month of May, the winning bar will be put into production, but only for people who voted.
Oh.
So it's literally your only way to try this bar because they may end up putting it on shelves like down the line if it's super popular, but the only way you're guaranteed to try it is if you have voted in the contest, which I just think is fun.
That's clever.
Yeah, it's cute.
Though I'd very much like to see like the snack graveyard of like all of the products that never made it to shelves.
Oh, well, what's so funny is I keep talking about this like it's like the Willy Wonka factory because they're literally making the prototype bars in their Kind kitchen at their offices. It's like, it is such like a cottage industry thing that's happening. But it is, there have been scraps that have been left behind that I have been a willing picker-upper of.
I love that. That is fun.
Yes.
I also wanted to talk about, Kind is a healthy snack, but it's also like nourishing and comforting and doesn't feel like you're depriving yourself. And I think something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and I've seen you post about, is I know you got your start with a book called The Dorm Room Diet.
Yeah.
It feels like we've almost banished the word diet lately. And what do you think about that? How do you see this wellness industry evolving?
I think that's a really fair question. And to your point about kind being wholesome ingredients. Like you look in this clear package and you see whole nuts, you see pieces of fruit, you see like what I think is kind of cool about the flavors they've created with this contest also is like it's not something made in a factory. I mean, plenty of companies have done, pick the new flavor thing and they go to a factory and they try a bunch of random chemicals and then they put them on your food and it sort of tastes like this, buffalo chicken. What's cool about this is they've done it with real whole ingredients, very much living up to their testament of giving you food that will fuel you and still feel indulgent, which for me is a big thing. As someone who works with food, loves food, it is super important to me to be able to know the quality that I'm having is still top notch. And banishing the word diet, and the reason I put it in the title of the dorm room diet when I wrote that book is we have put that negative connotation on, diet being something deprivational, diet being something that means departing from the life that you typically live, where a diet is really just the way that you eat. And my thought with that book was, so look, I graduated high school, I was 180 pounds. I got to college, I was like, I want to harness my health. I want to harness this freedom and independence to take control of my health in a really meaningful but still fun way that like I can still go to the pizza parties and keggers and have a normal college experience. And so I did just that. I created a healthy lifestyle. I lost the 40 pounds. I loved my college life. And I wanted to share those useful tips and tricks and practical advice on like how to make dorm food work and how to make living in a small environment work and living on a budget work and all the things that get in people's way when we're trying to eat healthy or trying to figure out how to eat healthy for the first time. Just share those things that had worked so well for me. And I also just like that it's all D's, dorm room diet.
Yep.
So.
Good alliteration. Yes, and now with even more experience, how do you perceive healthy eating and what kind of language do you use to talk about it?
So, I mean, I have 2 kids now. I have family. Like, I cook for people beyond just myself, which is part of the challenge when you're trying to eat healthfully is maybe you're trying to live a certain way, but people around you aren't necessarily supportive of that, and then it becomes a little bit of a tug of war over who's picking what's on the menu. And my balance that I strike is I want simple food made celebratory. I want healthy food that's still indulgent. And I want it to feel accessible but exotic. I think if you can keep your flavors fresh, if you can use fresh herbs, if you can, do baked chicken, but then throw some fresh parsley and mint, a little lemon zest, a little olive oil, some garlic on top, it starts to feel exotic in a way that's like, it was worth me taking this time to cook at home to make this. Or, I keep a lot of quality condiments on hand. So I might do like a barbecue chicken that I used a sauce that I can list all the ingredients, that I probably have them all in my fridge anyway. I'll zhuzh it up with a few of my, like maybe some orange zest and a little spice, and I'll make it my own. But I don't put a ton of pressure on myself. And I do think that a lot of what we've seen of cooking competitions and we put a lot of stress and pressure back in the kitchen. And my thought is like, let's make this a place that's sexy and it's freedom and it's adventure again. And there's no pressure, because the worst thing that happens is you throw away whatever you made and order pizza. And the best thing that happens
which isn't the worst thing.
Right,
I've done it.
Definitely not the worst thing. You live in New York. But the best thing is that you feel so accomplished when you make a meal that people come around the table to love and enjoy.
Yes. Something that you post about, and I've seen you wear a shirt, the idea of being a domestic goddess.
Yes.
I think is really fun and clever. Can you explain that philosophy?
Yeah, totally. So my last book, The Happy Cook, I wanted to call it domestic goddess actually, but I hadn't like talked enough about this term. So I mean, everyone knows what a domestic goddess is.
Yeah. Nigella Lawson.
Lawson, my angel, I love her. But it's this vision that you conjure up of like, if you're a woman or a man who loves food and loves to cook, it must mean you're in like a white gown, slinking around the kitchen, pulling a perfectly cooked pot roast out of the oven, and just it's
full face of makeup.
Yeah, full face of makeup, not a speck of dirt on you. It was so not the way that I experienced cooking or being in the kitchen, where there's inevitably loud music and louder children and a mess, but it's contained chaos, and the results are as, if not more, delicious, because there's a lot of experimentation that happens in that, and there's a lot of freedom that happens in that, and there's a lot less pressure. The ish gives you the wiggle room to make it your own and to really feel like the sort of gauntlet is just whatever you make it. It's not like you're trying to live up to some perfect standard. It's really just making small steps towards that progress. And I do think that's something else. Like, the more you cook, and there might be people in here who never go in the kitchen. There might be some who are like major chefs, but I feel like every time you get back in the kitchen, you inspire yourself and you give yourself the confidence to keep doing more. And the next time you go back, you'll remember, I did it this way last time and it worked for me, and I'm going to try it this way. There's a confidence that builds and it snowballs and it grows, and it feels so self-sufficient to be able to make a great meal for yourself. I can't tell you and can't chalk up enough the value of cooking at home, even in small ways. And that's what I mean, like if you make a pesto and put it on top of a rotisserie chicken, I still count that as you doing something important for yourself
Oh
at
yeah,
home.
if I put toast in the toaster oven, that counts to me. I think also, there's a lot of expectations specifically that women feel around cooking, and like this responsibility has to fall on them.
You
So
have
it
to be a
helps
goddess.
Yes, you have to be a goddess. So it helps loosen that up as well.
Yeah, I mean, no, absolutely. Again, like I think women in general put most of the pressure that we feel on ourselves because we know we're capable of so much. We know we can do it all. And then the expectation is, well, then you should do that. But I don't think you can enjoy it all. I think if you're trying to do everything, you're not enjoying the process, then what's the point? And so if you're gonna bother to get in the kitchen, let it relax you. Like let it be a sanctuary that you have access to every single day. And I think have fun with it and let it be loose and let it take some of that pressure off. Like you don't need to be in a sexy, slinky silk gown until after the food's on the table and if you feel like it. I'm always barefoot in the kitchen. I really view it as a place where my freedom comes to play and my that was like the reason I wanted to write The Happy Cook, and it's 125 recipes for eating every day like it's the weekend, was because I heard over and over and over again from viewers of the Chew, viewers on Food Network, everyone wanted to know, like, how do you still love cooking? How does it not feel like a chore to you? Because I come home from a long day at work and I'm exhausted. This is like the last thing I want to do. So I wanted to give people the recipes that I rely on day in and day out that my family actually enjoys and eats, that I feel good about because they're made healthier in some ways but still super indulgent, that allow us to celebrate every day but keep it really easy on myself, like basic ingredients, things you already have in your pantry, and really, again, try to make it easy on you, the woman, or you, the man, or whoever's cooking. Yes. Yeah.
And Mother's Day is coming up this weekend.
I know, so fast.
Are you excited? How do you want to celebrate with your family?
Oh, it's funny. We grew up, so I'm the oldest of four. And my dad, obviously, when I was growing up, especially, was always at the hospital. I feel like Mother's Day's definitely snuck up on him. I'm not even sure that he ever had like a major plan for it. But we would make my mom breakfast in bed, which was always a little bit messier than everyone tells you. Like, it sounds really nice, but it's always a little chaotic.
Over.
So I just, I want to spend it with my kids. We're going to be with my mom and my grandma and my mother-in-law, and I feel like we'll have just a family moment, do a big meal out. I would like to have one specific thing for breakfast. I love Swedish pancakes, but the problem is my mom has to make them for me, and I feel like that's a little bit not kosher on Mother's Day. So we'll see if I actually get those.
Oh, I love a Swedish pancake. They're really thin and
super
crispy.
thin and lacy, and I love them like a little bit wet still, like a really blonde crepe.
Oh, that sounds lovely. How old are your children?
So Philomena is 3,
okay,
and John Jr. is 18 months.
Okay, so they're a little too young to start helping in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, they're helpful. Yeah. They're really helpful guys in the kitchen. No, they have their moments where all they want to do is be in the kitchen with me. So Philomena's like obsessed with making kale chips right now and cookie dough. I mean, I'm not like a crazy person, but she loves it. And John wants to get in there and mix. They both love to crack eggs, but they want to crack 50 eggs. They don't believe in like 2 for the recipe. And so there is a little more mess than help that happens with them. But look, I grew up cooking in the kitchen. My mom and my grandma, they were my original happy cooks. They were the kind of people who they would literally just pull whatever was in the fridge or in the pantry and make something up. My grandma has 6 kids, my mom has 4, so there was always many, many mouths to feed. And if they burned the pasta sauce, they were always ready with olive oil, garlic, chili flake, new pasta, done. There was never that stress and pressure. They were confident, and I think a happy cook is a confident cook. And I grew up experiencing that love of food and that love of providing for the family in that way by being at their elbow at the stove all the time. And I want that for my kids too. I don't want them to have a fear of the kitchen.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Is there a recipe or specific ingredient you're excited about right now to cook with?
Oh, specific ingredient. I mean, okay, so it's spring, so fava beans are out now, they're torturous to make. You have to peel them and then peel a second layer off, but they're so good. And that with a sweet corn polenta is just my jam all through spring. But I will say that one recipe I've been talking up a lot recently, because I think it will change your roast chicken game for good, is my truffle salt roast chicken, and I do it with lentils and squash. And the trick is you can use any salt you want, but just plenty of salt on the skin so that it gets really salty and golden brown and crispy. But you start the first half of the roast process with the breast side down, and that's gonna stop your breast from drying out, which was like the biggest complaint I kept hearing from people who would try to roast a chicken at home, and they'd say, well, the thighs are perfect, but the breast is really dry. So you start it breast side down, and then halfway through the cook, you put it right side up so the juices redistribute, the skin gets golden brown and crispy, and at that halfway point, you throw parboiled lentils and cut up butternut squash underneath so they kind of fry in the chicken fat as it renders. And you have the entire meal done in one dish when you pull it out.
Easy
Sick and
cleanup.
twisted delicious.
Yeah.
It's
That
very
sounds
easy
great.
cleanup. Yeah, it's like that kind of recipe that I want people to take away of that's gonna take an hour and a half to cook, but literally 2 steps in your part. Like you can literally put it in the oven and walk away and do whatever you need to do. And you come back and you have this glorious meal that feels so fresh and that you did yourself, and you should feel like a damn domestic goddess when you put it out there. It's like amazing.
That's great. Good. Well, I think on that note, we will open up the
Yeah, you guys have
to
questions?
the audience.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. So, what type of chef did you look up? What type of chef or a cook did you look up to while growing up?
Well, my mom and my grandma were those original people for me who I looked at as the way I wanted to cook and the way I wanted to eat, because they just had fun with their food, and there wasn't any expectation of what was going to come out. But at the same time, they both went vegetarian very early on in life. So they were experimenting with Indian flavors, Asian flavors very early on to make pretty much all vegetable and grain-based dishes exciting to people who would otherwise be eating meat like my dad and like the kids. But in terms of TV chefs and popularized chefs, like the first person I remember, it's funny you brought her up earlier, the first person I remember knowing about and aspiring to have the kind of fluidity that she has in the kitchen is Nigella Lawson. I just feel like she has, she's a home cook, a hugely accomplished home cook, and she has that casualness to her in the kitchen. And she would like let you in, and she'd take you into the pantry and be like, I'm looking for a wet, runny yolk over my egg, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this lady, she just has it down. I love that. So anyway, I think that would be my answer to that question. Thank you. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
So in England we have to cook.
Oh, darling, please talk more. I love it.
In England we have to cook, and funnily, 2 things I want to ask you. But my mother was a terrible cook, but my kids are all fantastic. When I go home, I live here, I'm like, okay, you're cooking. I'm not. I find it very daunting. The other thing about these bars,
Yes.
when I eat sugar, and I'm grown up, so you imagine I'm a monster. Aren't these kind bars have sugar in them?
They do, but there are, what I've found is there are tiered versions of the bars, and there's a specific, I think it's called nuts and spices, that has 5 grams of sugar or less. And if you're looking at it vis-a-vis other sort of candy bars that people might be choosing to give their kids, or protein bars that are basically candy bars in disguise, it's a much healthier solution that still has the protein and the fiber and the fat of whole nuts going into the mix that hits your body. So it's not just a straight sugar bomb. But I totally hear what you're saying. It does affect adults, let alone children, in a big way when you eat straight sugar. But to your point about your kids loving to cook and your mom not so much, I do think it's funny how generations respond to what they saw or didn't see growing up. So like, if your mom didn't love to cook, you probably didn't grow up with a love of the kitchen and just were sort of afraid of it and not interested. So your kids, maybe either by necessity or out of rebellion or because it was something you didn't know much about, it became their passion. And I think that's amazing. One other thing that I think is fascinating too about England in particular is like college students are making curries in their dorm room. So I did a summer abroad. My sister lived there for a year, and she said her roommates were all making these beautiful chicken curries or like prawn stews or pasta sauces. It was nothing for them. It was because, look, if you're gonna live on your own, you should be able to cook for yourself too. It was part of growing up. And I think that we owe it to ourselves in this country too, we have this incredible bounty, this harvest. I mean, right now you're going into summer, like this is prime growing season on the East Coast. You don't almost have to do nothing to the ingredients, just let them stand on their own and you'll look like a star. So I hope your kids are teaching you some delicious recipes or pick up this great book, The Happy Cook.
I would love to, I will.
Thank you very much. And I do love your accent. Hey.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So when it comes to eating healthy, I'm not too terrible at like picking or making meals that are healthy, but when it comes to the snacks, like that's where I fall down. That's where I'm eating
Totally.
junk. So I'm wondering, like, are there some healthy options for snacks that you'd recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm like you, where the biggest pitfalls for me are in the middle of the day when I let myself go too far and I'm hungry and then I have no willpower left to make a good choice. And so I end up having, like I said, I have Kind bars in my bag, but I'll have little bags of nuts and seeds. I'll have, they have those little hummus cups like that I'll do with carrot sticks or a hard fruit like an apple or a pear. I keep those things on hand. They have the little almond butter squeeze packs now. I do think it's a matter of you being prepared with the snacks that you know are going to be okay within your range of calories. Within, if you work out a ton, like you might need more protein than someone else would. But for me, it's really about a little bit of fat, a little bit of fiber, and some protein as a snack. And I try to keep it to. I don't count calories. For me, it makes me neurotic, and it's too much math. It's like I really would rather pay attention to, is my body full, and do I feel good on this food, and is it fueling me to like live the life that I want? But I try to sort of stay within like the 150 calorie range for a snack in the middle of the day. I hope that helps. Thank you. And popcorn. Love popcorn.
Oh, yeah, love popcorn.
So good.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Daphne.
Yeah, thank you.
I will be voting for Sangria.
Guys, it literally tastes like it has wine in it. It's insane. Thank you. Thanks for having me. And thank you guys for coming out today.
Thank you
Good
for
to see
coming.
you. Thank you.